Happy holidays, America. Here we are again in Vincenzo's kitchen. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how I make the turkey pot pie. I hope everybody is pretty much done with their Christmas shopping and that they're not stressed out over what's going on in the political environment, because it is just amazing in America. Enough said. Alrighty. Try to put this in here. Get us going. Hello and welcome again to Gardening with Vincenzo in Vincenzo's kitchen. And today what we're going to talk about is a hearty turkey pot pie. Now I'm using my lasagna pan, and what I've already done is I've made up a coconut flour crust using mayonnaise and herbs, a little bit of olive oil and a couple of eggs, and I've pre-shaped it. And what I've done is I sprayed the pan with olive oil, formed this very nice looking crust, and then sprayed it again because we want to get it a little bit crunchy. So I'm going to pop that in the oven right now, and we're in there at 350, and we're going to let that bake a little bit while we do everything else. So we're going to stick him in there. I'm going to note the time. One of these guys that's pretty efficient in the kitchen. Alright, we have some mayonnaise, Hellmann's, which is gluten-free. I got a brand new coconut flour here and some eggs for the top of that crust. Again, store your coconut flour in the refrigerator. And just replenish this because I used the rest of my container out. Open him. There we go. Alright, now I've got a couple teaspoons. I know that I don't need a lot of flour here because I'm only making the top. So I'm going to go 1, 2. I'm going to go 3 heaping tablespoons. And then we're going to put him in the refrigerator. Now I have 2 pieces of parchment paper ready to lay this ball on after I get the ball. Again, keeping track of the crust that's in there. I'm going to use some mayonnaise here because the traditional crust, which is my wife's recipe actually, on those days when she used to cook many years ago, we did 1 cup of flour to 1 cup of mayonnaise. That was perfect for making pie crust. So I've got about 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise in there. That finished that off. We're going to just mix this up a little bit. Before I drop my eggs in there. In the pot on the stove, I have some hand twisted and broken up turkey and 2 cans of mixed vegetables. I didn't have enough vegetables to make it fresh, so I'll just use the can. The big thing was making up the crust, which we've already done. I'm using almost a whole quart of the turkey gravy that I made up that was mixed with coconut flour as a thickening agent. I'm going to put 3 eggs in this, I think. We'll start with that. Now, these are whole eggs. I'm not going to separate them out. I don't need a lot of fluff here. And as I've said before, coconut flour really absorbs the moisture. So what I've put in here should be pretty good. Get that thoroughly mixed. Already it's stiffening up. It just amazes me how much liquid this coconut flour absorbs. It's amazing for just a little bit of coconut flour. You better be throwing eggs in it. Alright, we're going to put those eggs in there. We're going to take our parchment paper. And I'm going to stick them right on there. And I'm going to spray that parchment paper because I don't want this to stick. So we'll give him a fast blast with our gluten-free coconut flour. Coconut oil. This is probably a little bit more than what I wanted as far as the topping. You can see that much right there. But I'm going to go with that. All I want is enough to do the top of the pie, turkey pot pie. Alright, so we have our parchment paper, our crust is already in there. I want to just basically hand do up the top for this. I don't want to make it too thick. I don't want to make it too thin. I want to be able to transfer it onto the top here of the pot pie on top of the crust after I add the insides. So we got that shaped pretty decently. I think the thickness is good. I sure hope so. Because I want to get the top in there one shot so it doesn't tear or anything, but we'll see whether that'll happen. All we can do is hope for the best. When you're working with this coconut flour, just, wet your hands. It'll keep it from sticking all over everything. There we go. It actually looks pretty decent. Alright, so we're good there. We're in my elf hat again. And what we have in here is our mixture of all the turkey that's mixed white and dark. We drained all the water off of our 2 cans of the mixed vegetables. So that when the crust comes out, really all we have to do is set the crust here. We're going to take our mixture and we're going to put that inside it, and it's already all cooked. Then we'll put the top on. We'll pop them back in there until the top gets brown. And after I lay that on top of the crust that's already here, take a look at him, give him a feel. Nope, he needs in there a little bit more. We got him in there at 375. I really want him to crisp up a little bit so that it's not mushy. I don't want it to really absorb the liquid. I want the liquid to stay in with the stuffing of the pot pie. So he's good. Oven's on. This is done. Everything will go together. It's already cooked, so really all you're needing to do is just brown it up. And it'll probably take a good 15-20 minutes after you put this together. All you got to do is keep checking for the crust on the top. Once it turns brown, then you know you're done. You pull it out. I'd let it cool down a little bit because it'll be very hot. And you'll be able to slice it. That way you have an actual pot pie. You're just making it out of a different ingredients. And what I might do is put a little bit of salt on the top of this. I'm definitely going to spray it with coconut oil so that it browns. I want a nice crispy lid on the top of it, and it should just be fabulous as far as taste. I used the gravy from my previously cooked turkey. If anybody saw my sweet and salty walnut video, I saved the turkey drippings and made gravy, and I made it with coconut flour, which is lower calorie. It takes a little bit more work to thicken it up as opposed to cornstarch, but you don't have all those excess calories. So that's a good thing for that. All right, we're going to give another check on our crust here because we don't want to get them too cooked, but we want them firm. Get my other one. Oh, the crust smells good. The nice herbs in it. All right, so there's our crust. And if you give him a touch, you'll feel that he's got a nice cook on him. Like I said, the pan was sprayed, so it shouldn't stick. I just really wanted this to form. And I don't know whether you can see real good or not. Let me grab a hold of this without burning my hands. But at the edge here, you can see that it's starting to get brown around the edges. I actually could have let it in there for a couple of more minutes, but we're going to go with it now for the sake of time expediency. All right, so we got that all cooked, and now what we're going to do is we're actually going to drain off any excess liquid that we have, because I don't want it wet. So we're draining that off. We're going to just save a little bit of that liquid. Nobody wants a soggy pot pie. More liquid than I thought in there. All right. So now we're going to take our, got to remember that pan's hot. There we go, want him on an angle. Now we're just going to spoon in our mixture. Look at all that goodness in there. It's moist, it's been cooked. Should be plenty of it in there. Ton of meat, fresh carrots, peas, corn, green beans. We're just going to direct them around to fill up the space. Oh, that's perfect amount. That was a perfect amount. I was worried about too much. So that was about 2 cups of turkey in there. Mixed white meat and dark meat. We're going to get him in there so he's nice and packed on good. We've already made a mess at all. That's a good thing. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our spread out crust here for the top, and we're going to just flip them right on there. Just like that. We'll see if we can peel them off. When you make them too thin without spraying the parchment paper, sometimes it's a little difficult to get them off. You got to help them a little bit as you go along. Actually, he didn't do too bad. He was sitting there longer than I wanted. Definitely got the size right. Alright. So he's pretty good as far as size. I have a little bit left on the pan here. I'm going to take him and spread him out. Just, I don't want him to look like he already fell off the counter before we even cook him. And my advice would be to stick him on a tray because you might get some bubbling. If you get some bubbling, you don't want it to go down in the bottom of the oven and burn. And you'll be saying to your wife, hey, was you cooking something in this oven? Because the whole house is smoked. And she'll say, no, I didn't spill nothing. That wasn't me. Yep. I still hear that stuff. It wasn't me. Which I always find hilarious. Although my wife wouldn't tell you that I find it hilarious. Yep. Alright, so we got them on a tray. That saved my hands there. And what we're going to do, real quick, before we put them in there, is we're going to take them and give them a spray of the coconut oil. Because that'll crisp them up. And the hard thing about all this is crisping up. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take some basil. Anytime you spray these, that gives you something to stick your herbs on. And I'm just going to take a pinch of the basil and just give them a little sprinkle on there, get them that herbed look. Yeah, that worked great. And I'm also going to hit them with a little bit of salt. Just a hair. There we go. And there you have it. Looking pretty good. Nice substantial pot pie. We're going to throw them in the oven. Remember that everything in here is already cooked, so that the point of this exercise is to just put that in there until you get a nice golden brown. And since it's in a glass dish, you'll be able to see it all the way around. Put it on the top of the oven. We'll pop them in there. And again, I'll put a picture of the finished product on my Facebook page, Gardening with Vincenzo LLC. Visit the website, gardeningwithvincenzo.com. Like and subscribe YouTube. Let me shake my head again, just for the heck of it. Being Santa's helper. All right, America, be safe out there. Remember, we can't save this planet 1 yard at a time, beginning with your own. And without a carbon tax. You are what you eat. Fresh is always best. That includes fresh baked, fresh cooked, fresh grown, fresh harvested. Grow as a person. Plant a garden. Good seeing you again. Have a joyous holiday season.